This episode is brought to you today by Prezi. If you're tired of giving boring PowerPoint presentations, ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, you must check out Prezi. Prezi is intuitive, it is powerful, and it's easy to use to tell stories. I've been using Prezi for years, and I highly recommend it. Clients are tired of boring PowerPoints. It doesn't make sense anymore. Look for something new. Look how you can stand out. And the tool that you need to check out to do so is Prezi. To get a demonstration and see the power that Prezi has, go to prezi.com/TSE. That is prezi.com/TSE. I promise you, it will be totally worth it. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist podcast. I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode, I have an awesome guest, an entrepreneur named Nick Kullin. And Nick is the man. And Nick is the founder of Second Flight Consultancy, one of the fastest growing growth hacking agencies specializing in digital marketing. And today, Nick is going to talk to us about the mindset, right? You know, the 10X mindset, how we can 10X our business, growth hack our business, but it all comes down to having the proper mindset. Some great insights today. I won't take up much time. We're going to dive straight into the episode. So let's go take it away, Mr. DJ. Welcome to the show, Nick.
Hey, what's going on, Donald?
You know, I am excited. I am here getting pumped up because I saw when you reached out and you wanted to connect, I was like, man, I know he's going to give us tons of value today, especially on the idea of 10Xing our income and particularly around growth hacking, this idea that we have of, you know, how we can become more successful. So I'm looking forward to chatting with you about that. But before we hit on all the fun stuff, why don't you tell us a little bit more about you and what you do, Nick?
Sure, not a problem, Donald. So my name is Nick Kullin. I am the founder of Second Flight Consultancy, which is a growth hacking agency that I started up about 4 years ago now. And this whole agency was primarily built on trying to develop the most innovative, game-changing, groundbreaking strategies for businesses who are looking to do only one thing, which is to disrupt their market. And, you know, when people think about disrupting their industry or creating a show-stopping business, oftentimes we really kind of sink into that rabbit hole of like thinking of all the little nooks and crannies. But realistically, it all starts with one thing. And it really starts by identifying, you know, how you can really tap into the psyche of your audience, how to find the vulnerabilities of your competitors, and really how to deliver whatever the message is or the product or anything in that nature of secret sauce, quote unquote. It's all about how you can hack the market itself so that way you can stand out and you can own the market. And when you see like brands out there like Dollar Shave Club and all these other like brands that almost are like pretty much were overnight, you know, household brand successes and that came out of nowhere, they all had one thing in common, and it's they knew how to growth hack their market and get themselves out there in a very fast time and a very low cost way. So I'm excited to talk about this and how it relates to, you know, of course, digital marketing, but also how it could even relate to sales.
Well, dude, this is awesome. And I'm glad you brought up the Dollar Shave Club because I think there's a lot of great insights from what these guys did to disrupt their market that can help us. And sellers out there who are listening to this podcast and entrepreneurs, we all can take some of these principles and apply it. But before we even get into all of that stuff, growth hacking, people are listening to this and they're like, Donald, man, is this I ain't on no IT podcast. I'm not looking to hack into anybody. Do you mind describing that for us for some people who don't grasp the concept of what growth hacking may mean?
Yeah, sure. So everyone has an idea what hacking is, right? And hacking in pretty much a nut form is, you know, being able to infiltrate someone's, you know, information, right? Where you're able to kind of break in. That's the dark side, right? Where you got this guy in a hoodie that's just stealing all your bank information. But in this case, we're looking at like the other side of the coin, like, you know, the good side, which is taking how the mentality of someone who is actually, you know, a hacker itself, but learning how to leverage how deep thought processes a hacker takes and applying it towards your business that can help unlock, you know, instead of bank information, unlock how your customers think, unlock how the perceived reality of how most people see things, and how to figure out like, all right, instead of trying to chase the same tail that every single entrepreneur is trying to chase in this industry, how can I maybe find the back door that no one really is talking about or touching, and infiltrate that area, which is the complete vulnerability to make some big wins in your market. And, there's definitely ways to go about that, from both a conceptual form of, all right, I want to start a business, what should I do? To even the aspect of, okay, I have a business, I'm trying to market, I have a dozen other competitors who have around the same price point, and we're all going after the same, customer. But if you're going in with the same kind of approach and style and delivery of getting that message out there, you're just going to be another blimp on the radar, another piece of white noise, and you're not going to be noticed, or you're not going to be, that remarkable, as Seth Godin likes to call it, purple cow in the prairie of business, that stands out. So how do you do that? You do that by completely deconstructing everything that your business is going to be touching and figuring out how to be, like I like to consider myself, a very nonconformist in the nature of how you go about delivering what you do and what you're trying to sell. And, when you look into it even deeper, it kind of really shapes into a whole nother paradigm of how people should think about doing business. I was on another podcast, which is a great podcast called Legends and Losers. And the founder of that podcast, or the host, he also wrote a book called Play Bigger. And that, Chris hits the nail on the head, and it's very similar to growth hacking, but he talks about how to be, a category design and being a category king. And instead of trying to say, all right, I want to go into this particular thing, let's say Airbnb in a sense, right? So Airbnb essentially, there's been room sharing, timeshares, all those things, out forever, where people were renting their places or staying at a hotel. But what they really did was say, hey, you know what? We're just going to completely create a whole nother category. We're not trying to go after the same thing where everyone knows us. We are completely trying to develop a whole nother industry. So that way we don't even have to worry about competitors, because the only competitor is ourselves. And when you start developing, instead of trying to take a piece of the pie, but make your own pie, it's a whole nother game. And even if you are in an industry where it's already there, and we talked about Dollar Shave Club, the Gillettes and all those shavers out there in the world has been around since the beginning of time, right? since man has grown hair on his face. But the thing is, they took such a novel concept, but when people think about buying a Gillette razor or getting Dollar Shave Club, for some weird reason, they're both freaking shavers, but they seem like they're on two different islands.
Yes.
You don't look at a Gillette razor and a Dollar Shave Club, subscription as the same thing, even though they are the exact same thing. But they did a great job hacking our mind and really kind of creating a differentiation between the two, where if they were hey, we're just another, brand that's going to be up at Target and Walmart hanging on the shelf right next to Gillette, no one would have really understood it, even though maybe it was a cheaper razor. But they just had a unique way of saying and delivering their value in a way that no other person who is a consumer has been approached that way. So it creates this complete, peacock kind of effect where you see all the feathers and you can't just help but just to stare at it, and that's the effect that sometimes when you could hack that mindset, you could really, own the market with and give that longevity. So, I definitely mean, everyone listening and Donald, we're going to be strapping in this rabbit hole experience, because it could really get into some deep stuff where you won't look at how you do business almost the same anymore.
That's interesting that you bring that up. And something that you mentioned to me before was the idea of mental awareness, that this growth hacking is more than just the physical stuff. It's really the mental awareness. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah. So for instance, if I had, for every time I met an engineer, right, who developed a software, and I asked them, oh, so tell me what your random name company that does a service, software as a service thing does. And, what's the value of it? First thing that you always hear, and this is oftentimes even with sales guys too, is we get comfortable with just riddling off all the features and benefits, right? Oh, let me bullet point every little thing and why this thing is amazing. But what they forget is that the person on the other end is a person who maybe out of the 12 bulleted items that your amazing software or product could do, or the benefits of it, maybe they really only care about that one thing, right? That's just one thing that they would spend 10 times the amount of money on if it could help solve that problem. And the problem is we like open the fire hydrant and just spray people in the face with all the amazing things when realistically they'd rather just sip on a straw on something that they actually enjoy. And when we think about building a business, it's not about the quantity of amazing things you do. It's about that one core quality thing that makes people say, you know what, I can't live without this thing. Yeah. And when you think about, a perfect example is that, that thing that sits in our pocket that essentially is like glued to our skin, our smartphones, right? What's crazy is that a smartphone is equivalent to the computing power of what they flew the first spacecraft to the moon. Isn't that freaking crazy? But no one's talking about you could go down the rabbit hole of how crazy the computing power of your phone could do and the capabilities. I mean, just look at some of the mobile games. It's equivalent to a PS4, and that's in the power of your hand, and what's nuts is that no one really, they don't really budge on that. When you even sit and listen to the presentations, it's almost kind of funny in a way when you think this amazing piece of technology is so advanced that they don't even talk about, but they talk about the cool little selfie picture camera that can make you look better and apply a dog face to your nose. But the thing is, they don't go down hey, we have this new processing chip that helps augmented reality and blah, 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 blah. No, they say, hey, we have a camera that makes it look like you're actually seeing that person through a hologram, but you look like a dog. And people are like, oh my God, that's freaking cool. That's exactly what I want. But you have to, they mastered the art of knowing what their customers want. And more so, I know Simon Sinek, he started the revolution of start with why, which is essentially one of the key ingredients of growth hacking, which is really uncovering, what makes your, why this essence of a product or a service is going to be the thing that is going to make people want what you do. But there's another side of that coin to the question of why, which is almost equally, or I would say, if you look at it in a pyramid, the base of the pyramid is not so much the why. The why I like to look at is the top, right? It manifests into the why. But the biggest thing that I think no one really thinks about is the who. It's the who, and it's a who. When I say that, I mean it by it's who you're marketing to, because you could develop, I've seen businesses where I've been brought in as a consultant, to help them with their branding and messaging, and all they do is sitting around in a boardroom and they're like, let's think of this revolutionary, game-changing, original, witty why. And they're riddling off, they're waiting, they're grabbing all their markers till they dry out on the whiteboard, and they're like, this is our why. But one of the things that they forgot after the 4 hours of sitting in that boardroom is, all right, let's really think about our who. We could come up with a freaking awesome why, but does it really resonate with who we're really marketing to? And you see this tug of war with marketers, especially when they're like, oh man, we thought of this such a cool idea. And maybe to them it was a really freaking cool idea, but it didn't resonate with actually who they're marketing to. They got too invested into their business and they forgot about yeah, I like it, but maybe my customers don't. And it's almost like you got to kind of strip your ego up a little bit and really kind of think about other people. And when you do that and you're like, all right, it's not about me. It's not about what I think is awesome and cool. It's about what my customers think is awesome and cool. And when you dive into that who and really deconstruct almost the anatomy of that buyer's persona and then apply the why metric, all right, I understand that this is my person. Now let me see what keeps them up at night. And before they go to bed is the thing that makes them around this topic stay up. And then you start almost reverse engineering in that aspect and then tailoring it down by all right, this cool thing that is equivalent to the computing power of a space shuttle back in the 1980s. Really, people just like the convenience and the sleekness of how easy it is to just navigate multiple complex applications that consumer just sees as a unique, easy use, device. But they don't need to know how much it goes into it. They don't need to know all the things. All they need to know is hey, you can do all this cool stuff on it. It lasts maybe 8 hours if you're lucky. And you know what? It's the newest, coolest thing. And what's even crazier is that people really don't even care about all the cool technological things. What they care about is the design, if it looks cool. And that's why I feel like Apple, no matter how hard Samsung and all the Android devices try, Apple just knew, like, you know what, our customers just really want to look cool. Our customers want to, when you whip it out, it's like almost another accessory to their outfit. And they mastered that early. And that's why, since they hacked the mentality of the customers who, again, think back, as crazy as it may sound, 10 years ago, we're all walking around with hockey pucks in our pocket. These big blocky phones that were ugly. They look like pieces of R2D2's, like, freaking shell. And the thing is, like, they changed the market. Again, not so much about all the cool fancy stuff that thing could do, but they hacked the mindset of, like, hey, that thing that you walk around with, it actually could look cool, could actually make a presence in your social status, all that cool stuff. And then, again, if you think about back then, people were talking about all the glitz and glamour of the features of the cellular device, as they like to call it. And then Apple came in and said, hey, instead of calling it a cellular device, we're going to call it an iPhone. And this is why this is going to change your life. And they knew exactly who they were marketing to. And it was the people who didn't care about all the little fancy features and needed to be inundated with that stuff. They just wanted to give people the best user experience without having to be a computer science engineer to really understand how awesome it is.
We're getting some good stuff here. Now we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, Nick is going to dive deeper into the concept of growth hacking, how it's a mindset, and how we can definitely take advantage of it as sales professionals and entrepreneurs. You're listening to the Sales Evangelist podcast, and I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. Okay, if you have not checked it out as of yet, I am telling you, you need to go to Prezi.com/TSE and check out the demo, baby. Now, Prezi is no ordinary presentation tool. It's not like PowerPoint. It's not boring. It's not flat. It's able to give you a dynamic experience. So as your customer, if I'm sitting down watching one of your presentation, first off, I'm like, wow, this is different. Second of all, wow, it's easy to follow. And thirdly, the fact that no matter is that I'm able to get the value quicker because you're telling me a story. It is so powerful with doing that. So you don't want to sit there with that boring corporate slide deck and going through it one by one and look just like your competitors. Get your marketing team, get your sales leaders together, and get Prezi. Check out the demonstration. I guarantee you'll see how easy and intuitive it is. To get a full demonstration, go to Prezi.com/TSE. Again, Prezi.com/TSE. I promise you, it'll be totally worth it. As we dive back into the second half of this episode, I highly recommend that you check out Prezi, but I do also recommend that you take some notes from what Nick has to share. Some great insights. I mean, I really believe it's a mindset. It can definitely help you as we finish up the year and start off the new year. Change that mindset. Let's dive into it. The interesting thing too, man, is that one of the concepts that I always reiterate is that in order to be successful, do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. And it's amazing to see how Apple, like you said, did that, how they went outside the box and did something totally different in the way that they just rebranded it. I mean, rebranded something that we've had for forever. And I feel the same way sellers. I find sometimes salespeople, they get to the client and dude, you've seen it before. They all look and sound the same. Any thoughts on what they can do to help rebrand themselves or, create that differentiating value that Apple did?
I think the thing is, people just need to stop being scared of being different.
What do you mean by that?
It's almost like, here's the thing. It's comfortable to fit in with the crowd, right? Like, think about it when you're in school. You didn't want to be the weirdo, right? You wanted to be the guy who kind of like fit in with the crowd. Just wanted to be the guy who didn't cause maybe so much attention. And then if you did cause attention, what happened? Unless you were one of the cool kids that was quote unquote socially accepted in the world of our society, right? The weirdo who probably exhibits the most unique characteristics in the classroom, maybe the most original and fresh ideas, just got discounted. Want to know why? Because most people initially don't understand it. They don't get it. So I feel like almost as like a society, we're bred to be like, you know what? If I go too far to the right, people are not going to really understand me or get me. But what we're finding now in business, because there's so much of the same kind of stuff, what we're finding is when you are completely different, if you're being the weirdo in this concept, right, in business, whether that's coming off with like not the same type of messaging that everyone else is doing, or the same type of, let's say, ad design, or maybe even the same type of delivery of like how you're trying to portray the services and benefits of your business. If you think about like how far can I push the dial to be like, hey, I'm the weirdo and I'm proud of it, because what happens when you're the weirdo in life is that people start to look at you, and initially they may be like, whoa, that's just, I don't get it. But when people start to sit in and sink it in, they're like, I like it just because it's fresh.
Yes.
Because it's new. And, you could look back and see throughout every industry, there's whoever was like from the beginning of time was the biggest weirdo. Those are the people who are the biggest, players in the game right now. And I think when we start like developing our marketing plans and you're starting to develop how you're going to, shape your business from whether it's day one to, 5 years plus down the line, and maybe even like, you were the weirdo and you developed something fresh and unique, but just because you started running that tail 5 years ago doesn't mean it's the same today. And I always tell people, it's like you have to kind of keep, like a blacksmith sharpening a blade. You use it, what's going to happen? It's going to get dull. You got to keep sharpening it and sharpening it after you use it again and again, and you kind of keep refining it. And when you see people who maybe had a great business, a great product, but they kept with the same thing and didn't challenge themselves, it's very easy to still get lost. And more so than ever, we live in a day and age where time and information moves as fast as light, pretty much, right? One day people could be talking about this. The next day people are going to be talking about that. And they're going to forget about everything that happened, what happened like 7 days ago. 7 days ago is essentially 7 years ago in the world of information and technology. And you got to think about like, if I'm not keeping up with the speed of information and the speed of how people interact with one another and all those little aspects, I'm either one, going to get lost into the mix of the matrix of, information, or two, I'm going to be able to find and uncover the new opportunities that people are just overlooking. And this is where growth hacking kicks in. More often than not, and this is where the mentality of growth hacking is more important than the actual application of it, because you could always find someone technical to make something that is new and could fit into the plan of action. What you can't do is you can't make thoughts and consciousness around opportunity manifest unless you work it out like a muscle, unless you scrape your head of all the stuff that people told you what is real and what is reality out of your head. You open up like this whole nother way of thinking, right? And that's where amazing things happen. So while things are moving so fast, like almost every month, a social media player is coming up with this new, piece of technology, right? Or new feature inside their platform, which of course affects billions of people, right? Now, the marketers of those businesses could keep doing the same exact style of how they're going to market. The ones who could really growth hack the market are the ones who are saying, well, everyone's doing Google ads, everyone's doing these Facebook ads and this type of delivery of them. But Facebook just ran out with this new thing called Chatbots. Now, no one else is doing Chatbots, so you're now stuck between a crossroad. I could go the route that no one else is doing Chatbots, so I'm not going to do Chatbots. There's no reason for me to do Chatbots unless the market and everyone else is doing Chatbots. Then I have to do Chatbots. Instead, the people who are growth hackers are like, there's this new thing that no one's seen, no one has heard of, no one has even experienced yet. There's a limited amount of people who actually know how to do it. But if I could be one of those people who actually know how to do it for that short amount of time, I could develop myself to be the market leader in this particular way of getting my message out. And that's how I could absorb the market. And when you think back to all the businesses who became overnight success, they figured out a really unique way to take advantage of maybe a new delivery of how to get a message out or how to market your brand and business that had very little competition, but was in a competitive market, take the big wins at the end of the day. And I think what we have to keep doing and telling ourselves as entrepreneurs and challenging ourselves, more importantly, is never take a day off of thinking about how you could push the dial. You should never get comfortable, because the moment that you get comfortable is the moment that you start not being innovative. You always kind of want to think about like, hey, I never want to fit in the crowd. I want to be a nonconformist in my industry. I want to be a nonconformist in my market. If everyone in my market is doing the same type of Facebook ad, I need to run for the hills like my pants are on fire. I need to find something new, because that's the only way, essentially, you're going to continue being relevant. And I think at the end of the day, that's what people need to start thinking about. And instead of trying to be like, hey, well, our competitors do this, this, and this. Okay, that's not a reason for you to do it too. If anything, that's a reason for you not to do it. And that's, I think, the big takeaway, especially, when people are looking at their 2018 marketing plans and strategies and budgets, and they're like ready to dump a lot of money into things. Don't dump it into the thing that feels comfortable, feels safe, because it may work a little bit, but it's not going to be the thing that's going to be sustainable.
Yes. Makes total sense on that, dude. I love it, man. You are someone that I need to talk to a little bit more often because there's so many different principles in here as a seller that I glean from this. Like there's so many different insights. Even going to that chatbot is something that we started implementing in our organization, but man, it is like, it's a whole nother way of thinking, right? It's a whole nother way of doing business. And I'm excited. And I think there's a lot of different things that sellers can take with that, just the mentality, and apply it to the way that they sell. But if there's one major piece of takeaway you'd like folks to walk away with today from our discussion, what's that one major piece of advice, Nick?
I would say in the road of growth hacking, you're going to be seeing one thing, a very familiar face, a lot. And that face starts with the F, and it's called failure. You're going to run into it. You're going to run into it. But here's the thing. You got to embrace it with open arms, give it a nice big hug and kiss it in the cheek and say, okay, thank you for teaching me that. And again, it's like a blacksmith, sharpening up a sword. You're going to keep hammering away, and you're going to keep firing it out. And so that way, that failure, that slight glitch is going to get you, again, that one step closer. I almost feel like when you start trying to growth hack and develop that mentality and, starting to make these really new calculated risk, most people would say like, well, if I fail, that means it didn't work. No, what that means is that you're getting one step closer. And if let's say you did something and it worked from the bat, that means you didn't try hard enough, but you did find a nice area of opportunity. Oftentimes we get fooled by, doing something, it worked. So we stopped at that point because we're like, oh, wait, cool, it worked. It doesn't mean that we need to push for it. Want to know why? Because we're comfortable. But if it worked, keep pushing it till it doesn't work. And, Jeff Bezos, he's a widely huge success as he is, because he understands that. When you listen in on his investor calls, he actually gets mad at his departments if they didn't overspend, if they're not upside down, because he looks at that as like, if we're not in debt, if we didn't lose money, we didn't try hard enough. And it makes you think a little bit in a way. If I didn't lose money, I didn't try hard enough. And I think we got to start thinking about that. It's not bad sometimes to lose money, as long as you're doing things that you're learning and uncovering new opportunities from. Because eventually, if you're doing the thing that's making you money, but it's keeping you in a very comfortable position, eventually you are going to lose money, and you're not going to come away with anything new and fresh when the market does make that turn. Because every business is going to have its peaks and valleys, no matter what you are and no matter what you're doing. It's going to happen, and it's naive to think that you're invincible to it. So when that time comes, I rather know like, hey, I got kicked in the face in the dojo a few times, and I know how to take a punch, rather than say that one guy snuffs you in the nose and you're out for the count. What's the point? So it's like you have to get yourselves prepped and ready. The only way you could do that and develop that tough skin is by taking that on and embracing it.
Dude, man, love it. If folks out there listening want to get connected with you, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, sure. So if anyone wants to like chat with me, maybe, discuss a little bit deeper about their own business and stuff like that, I'll be more than happy to talk with any of your listeners. They could actually schedule time, and I'm sure you could throw it into your show notes. My online booking calendar, that is meet, MEET, me.so/Nick, NICK, Kullin, KULLIN. And that would open up my online booking calendar, and it shows my availability. More than happy to talk with anyone. I love talking shop and just, brain swapping on cool ideas. And if you ever want to just learn more about my agency, you can check it out at secondflightconsultancy.com.
Done. We'll go ahead and put that stuff in our show notes, and so folks can get access to you. But man, Nick, we sure appreciate your time today, the insights you brought, and the mind shift that you were given to us. Thank you so much for coming on the show, man.
Not a problem. Thank you.
I told you Nick knows what he's talking about, and I highly recommend that you check out his website. We have some details in our episode. It's thesalesevangelist.com/the-word episode number 713. Again, thesalesevangelist.com/the-word episode number 713. Go ahead and connect with Nick. Go ahead and learn from his agency some of the great insights, profitable things that you can take and apply. They have done all the hard work for you already. Why go ahead and reinvent the wheel? Learn from these guys. And even if you're not in the marketing department, even if you don't own your own business, as a sales professional, can you look at digital marketing in a new light? Can you take some of these principles? Can you take the mindset of growth hacking and help you perform better in your role? Of course you can. So check it out. Go find all the details. Go to thesalesevangelist.com/the-word episode number 713. All in all, I share this stuff because I really want to help you guys. I want you to get connected with folks like Nick. I want you to be able to make your business what it should be, and also to make your sales where it should be, where you desire it to be, and not just run around being broke. It doesn't work anymore. Broke don't work. It ain't funny. So let's fix that. Also, if you want to make sure your presentations are popping, check out Prezi, baby. You can't go around giving them boring old slide decks in 2018 and expect different results. You have to do different stuff, baby. You have to try new stuff. You have to try new things. You have to check out the power that Prezi has, how it can catapult your presentation and build value, tell effective stories. To learn more, to get a demonstration, go to prezi.com/TSE. That is PREZI.com/TSE. I want you to be successful. I want you to be happy. But most importantly, I want you to go out each and every day and do big things.